You're listening to the Visionary Lifestyle Podcast, the show that's dedicated to raising consciousness and empowering you to activate your highest potential. I'm your host, Magda Freedom Rod. Namaste from India. This is my first in a series of international interviews, and I'm excited to bring you more shows during my international adventures in India and beyond. Today's guest is Vedic meditation teacher Light Watkins. Light has been operating in the meditation space for over 15 years. He's based in Santa Monica, California, and he travels the world teaching everyone from bankers, artists, and politicians to CEOs, caretakers, and comedians how to meditate in a self-sufficient way. He's also an author and currently working on a series of books called the Inner Gym book series, the first of which is available now under that title. He's a regular contributor to mindbodygreen.com. He's a TEDx speaker. Look for that in the show notes. And he founded an alcohol-free enterlightenment event, as in entertainment meets enlightenment. That's in LA and it's called the Shine Movement. I interviewed Light sitting on the banks of the river Ganges, affectionately known as Ma Ganga here in Rishikesh, India. As you'll hear, the interview starts out peacefully, and towards the end, the very real and vibrant sounds of India invade our conversation. I really urge you to stick through it and hear a gem of perspective that Light shares at the end. Now, let's get our meditation on. Enjoy and namaste. All right, welcome to the show, Light Watkins.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here in Rishikesh.
Yeah, it's so amazing connecting with you here in Rishikesh. We're in India. We're sitting on the banks of Ma Ganga, the amazing river that it's just so sacred to the people here. It's so beautiful to be here, sitting at the base of the Himalayas. And
yeah, I've got an interesting story about that. This is my probably fifth time in India, and the first time I was here at Rishikesh, people take their shoes off, obviously, as part of the tradition. It's an ancient Indian culture before you go into a place, and I understood that, and I do that at home. But one day I was walking around and my feet were really dusty, and I had on sandals, and I decided, let me go and clean off my sandals, and I went down to one of the ghats where you can go into the Ganga, and I had my sandals on, and I started walking in the shallow part of the ghat, and the people around me were looking at me as if I was just doing the most offensive thing in the world, and they started pointing at my feet, and I realized that they were offended that I had my shoes on in the river, which was interesting because they look at the Ganga as this kind of sentient being. Right. And if you go in there with your shoes on, it's kind of like standing on someone's pillow on their bed with your shoes on. It's like it's like the worst thing you can do. So I learned that the first trip I came.
Things not to do in India.
Yeah.
I decided I'm going to write an entire blog post of things not to do.
Yeah.
Ways to offend people.
It's kind of great though, the way they have reverence for nature. We don't see that a lot in America. I mean, we'll appreciate it, but we don't really revere it like we would revere our relative or see it as an extension of ourselves.
Right, exactly. And here where we are, just sitting on the steps of Parmarth Niketan Ashram, they have an arti ceremony every night that's honoring this river and the life that it brings. I mean, and all up and down the Ganga, from what I hear. I haven't been to any other ones but here, but it's just an incredible depth of sacredness and appreciation for nature, and specifically this river.
So beautiful. I've sat through that ceremony many times, and it was just amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful to be here. It's really cool connecting with you all the way.
Yeah.
We could have connected in LA, but here we are sitting in Rishikesh. It's awesome.
I know.
So you are a Vedic meditation teacher.
Yes.
And this is great because I haven't dive too deep into meditation yet on the show, and it is definitely something that I want to shine a light on and focus on, and bring to my listeners this tool of meditation as a means to awakening and improving our lives and improving the world. So the first thing I want to ask you about meditation is, how do you define meditation?
Meditation, as I see it, is a seated, eyes closed practice that gives you an opportunity to settle your mind and merge your individual awareness with that kind of universal awareness.
Beautiful. And you are specifically a Vedic meditation teacher, right? So can you explain for the listeners what Vedic is and how that's different than, say, TM or any of the other variations of meditation out there?
Right. So whenever I get into conversations with people around, different types of meditation, I always ask, like, what have you done before? And then, because people tend to have a very kind of conventional idea about meditation, being this practice that you have to sit in a certain type of way. I just said seated, eyes closed, but a lot of people think, well, meditation you need to have your back straight, you need to have your legs crossed, you need to be on the ground or on a cushion, and you need to focus or concentrate on something. And so Vedic meditation, in the same way as transcendental meditation, because they kind of come from the same source, are known as householder techniques. And what that means is you're not expected to emulate monks when you meditate. So all the pictures and images we normally think about with meditation are actually emulations of monastic traditions. And householder traditions, you meditate on your couch, you meditate in your car, you don't have to have your back completely straight, you don't have to have your legs crossed, you shouldn't meditate on the floor because if it's not that comfortable for you, and you don't have to concentrate or focus on anything. So they're both mantra-based techniques, but the way you use the mantra is different from the way people normally think about using a mantra, in the sense that you don't have to chant anything. You more so experience a mantra in a very passive way, and that becomes a sort of trigger for quieting your mind. So the reason they call it transcendental meditation is because it allows your mind to transcend or to go beyond your busy surface thoughts and into a quieter space, which is, I think, what everybody really wants to experience with meditation. Like, the biggest complaint that I normally hear as a teacher is that my mind is too busy, right? So if you have a technique that gets you beyond the busy mind, then people tend to be really happy with that. And I think that's why they're both so popular nowadays, is because they've been shown to be able to do that pretty easily.
Okay. So in a nutshell, because I know there are so many and that we could have an entire hour just on this one question, but in a nutshell, what are the benefits of meditation? Why should people cultivate a practice?
So, here in India, when people consider and think about meditation, the benefit is to get closer to God, right? To get closer to their higher self. That doesn't play very well in the West. Like, people consider church to be their kind of sanctuary for getting close to God. And so the reason why we meditate in the West is to rest the mind, to rest the body, and it's through the process of resting the mind and body that we can feel more connected to ourselves, we can feel more connected to everyone else around us, and we have more, a greater ability to see connections and make distinctions, and the brain changes, and we can be smarter and problem solve better, and these kinds of things. So, in other words, how is this going to help me make more money, or get more sex, or sleep better at night? That's what we care about, and those are the ways that meditation helps in Western minds.
So all around life improvement.
Yes. Yeah. There's actually not one area of life that I can think about that's not improved from meditation. And another kind of cool way to look at it is, well, what's the opposite of someone who meditates? What's that experience like, right? And so the thing that meditation is known for is being an outlet for stress to release. So the opposite is stress accumulation, right? So if someone is under a lot of stress, then we can also say, well, it affects every area of life. It affects you sexually. You can't get it up at night usually. It affects your digestive system. You can't digest food properly, or you find yourself craving salty and fatty foods, which leads to other kinds of body problems and weight problems. You can't sleep at all at night, and if you're not sleeping, that affects your production during the day. So when you are able to release stress in a fairly comprehensive way, then it will improve all of those areas. So it's not just paying lip service to, oh, meditation, will help me. It actually, there's scientific and medical evidence that shows that when you have less stress in the body, things tend to get better.
Right. Okay. So meditation as a stress reliever, which improves all these other facets of our lives. Makes sense. So I think some people that may be drawn to meditation and want to try it, they have lots of excuses not to do it, and maybe it's intimidating and it's overwhelming. To find a benefit from meditation, to see, to witness, to experience a benefit from a practice, how long would you say